You scroll through hundreds of job descriptions, but they all sound the same. You spend so much time on every application, but it doesn't seem to matter. You send off application after application, but never hear back. You thought the interview went so well, but it's a no. You jump through all the hoops. The news keeps saying how there are all these employers that are struggling to find people to hire. So why does finding a great job have to be so hard? It doesn't seem very logical or fair. It's not. The system is broken. It's not your fault. The process most people go through to get a job is awful. But here's the good news. The system isn't very smart. In fact, it's downright dumb. It can be beaten. How? Most prospective employers and employees today are using the same old tired strategies that have been around forever. It's like professional camouflage. Everybody just blends into the crowd. But you don't have to be that way anymore. You can get traction. You can stand out from the crowd to unleash your God-given potential, to help a world in need, to do work that matters, to earn what you and your family deserve. You can do this. You're meant to do this. There are bright things on the horizon for you. This is the way. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the workshop. Get hired fast without settling, getting ignored, or losing hope. My name is Eric Woodard. I'm a high-performance career and leadership coach based out of Washington, D.C. And if you're here today, I just want to acknowledge you because it just tells me you're somebody who cares about your career. You're just taking time out of what's a rainy Tuesday right here to be here. So that is awesome. And look, if you're watching live, you're extra cool. And if you're watching this on the replay, you are also very cool. Not quite as cool as the people who are here live, but quite cool, I must say. So look, I want to make sure that people can hear me, and I apologize because I have a little bit of a cold. So if I have like a massive coughing fit during this presentation, you'll know it's real because I'm a highly trained professional. If you would, yeah, that's right, Matthew, we're extra cool. Hey there, Hannock, right? So like, if you would put in the chat where you're from and how long you bet Kumar, put where you're from and how long you've been on the job search, if you would please, because we're about to get started. So where you're from and how long you've been on the job search, because folks, look, being on a long job search can feel a lot like pounding sand. It can feel a lot like waiting on a glacier. Being on a long job search can feel an awful lot like wandering through the desert or going into the arena, Ed in Princeton and Kumar in Phoenix and Michael in Atlanta and Lauren and Lillian in Phoenix, right? It can feel like staring into an abyss, Anna and Kathy and Brian. So look, John outside of Atlanta and Robert in Orlando. Who's this for? Hey there, Hannock in DC. If you're unsure about the direction you want your career to go, John and Rhea. If you're struggling to describe what you do, Tom and Mark, if you are like uncertain about the direction you want to go, or unsure if your resume is any good, Yasmin, if you are wrestling with how to follow up after you apply, Rory, if you are tired of applying and hearing nothing back, David in Michigan, if you've been doing interviews that seem to be going great and you still get a big fat no, and if you're trapped in a job that you really don't like and you're not sure how you can escape, John in Hernando Beach, especially if you're losing hope, this is for you. On the other hand, if you're somebody who's super casual about your career, not willing to do like any work or take responsibility for the results you've been getting, not willing to do something different, if you're reluctant to, do a job for anything other than to make money, and especially if you're just stuck in your ways and sort of closed-minded about trying new things, unwilling to be authentic, this may not be the workshop for you. So what you're going to learn here today, how to get hired fast without settling, getting ignored, or losing hope. I'm going to offer you 4 strategies and 9 tactics so that you can do work that matters and pays what you and your family deserve. So here's our agenda. So I'm just going to say briefly, I'm just going to say just 2 seconds about myself so you understand where I'm coming from. I'm going to offer you 4 strategies and 9 tactics. folks, I will tell you, this is going to be different than stuff you've heard before, and we're going to talk about why that is here in a second. I also have an invitation for you. Like, I know some of the people that are on this workshop now, they already know about the program we offer. The reason they're on this workshop is because they're interested in hearing more about it. So if that's you, you can book a strategy call right now. We've got, I think we've got one slot open today, and then a bunch on Friday, and then a bunch more next week. So if you already know you're interested in working with us, hey there, Mark in College Station, go ahead and book that now, because that calendar is going to fill up. It's already filled up actually from last week. And then we're going to do a little questions. Okay, so here we go. Who is this guy, and why does he think he can help me find a job? Well, I don't know if I can help you find a job. I've helped a lot of other people find a job. Like, here's my story. I grew up overseas. I grew up in Asia, came to the States when I was 17, wound up transferring colleges 7 times, right? It was pretty rough. Wound up as a scuba instructor on Guam, spent about 10,000 hours with the fish. And eventually I was like, man, I got to do something more substantial than this. I thought, what would be the most prestigious job in the world I could have? And I thought, well, that must be something like the White House. Excuse me. So I took out a piece of paper and I wrote a letter to the president, and I sent it to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. And I said, dear Mr. President, you should hire me. And this is the worst cover letter you've ever seen, right? I still have a copy of it. I mailed that off, and I'm like, I'm never hearing from those guys. But that got me thinking, about what was possible. And, one day I was going past the Guam post office. The guy came out and he said, Eric, you got this letter from the White House. And I opened it up, and it was an internship application. Now, I didn't know what the hell an internship was, but I was really good at filling out applications because I transferred college so many times. So I filled that out, sent it in. I'm like, I'm never hearing back on this, but at least I got that cool White House envelope. I thought that was pretty cool. And I didn't hear back, but I applied to some grad schools. I got into GW here in DC, sort of landed dumpster diving for furniture, big bushy haircut, bought a pair of shoes, was out running past the White House one day on the National Mall. And I thought, those White House bastards, they never even bothered to let me know about that internship thing. So I'm going to call them. So I found a payphone, put in a quarter, and I was like, hey, you White House people, what about that internship thing? There's like, is this Eric from Guam? And I'm like, yeah, but I'm in DC now, man. Like, man, we've been trying to get in touch with you. You start in the First Lady's office on Monday. So I thought that was interesting. So I went and got a haircut and bought a suit, and I showed up. And look, folks, I know we're in kind of an ongoing political season here in the United States, and I don't know if your politics match mine, so please forgive me if they don't or don't. This was back during the Clinton administration. I worked for Hillary Rodham Clinton. She was an awesome boss. And I wound up getting hired on her staff and followed her most of the second term of the Clinton administration, followed her to the U.S. Senate, and then followed her to the U.S. State Department, where I did a bunch of UNESCO stuff. Eventually left Hillary Land and wound up as director of fellowships and internships at the Smithsonian. And all during that time, like giving a lot of talks, doing a lot of coaching, writing a lot of books, getting like an absurd number of certifications and degrees, so many fantastic testimonials. I sort of saw the same movie over and over and over again of people struggling with their careers. And so now I have my full-time coaching practice. I've been doing it for about 5 years, and you don't care about any of that, because what you care about is, can I help you? I don't know. Probably. Let's find out. So here are 4 strategies for you. So look, folks, the way this is going to work, feel free to put questions in the chat. There's often a little bit of a delay between when you write stuff and I see it. And if we miss anything, we'll come back to it. But we're going to start talking about these 4 strategies right now. Make sure you have something to write with, because this is going to be different than stuff you've heard about. All right, here we go. First thing, what is a good resume about? Put it in the chat, please. Let's see if anybody gets the right answer. Excuse me. What's a good resume about? Yeah, you're welcome, Tom. Thank you. I appreciate that. Right? What's a good resume about? Put it in the chat. What's a good resume about? I'm curious if anybody will get the right answer. Let's see here. Who's going to be the first one out of the gate? Who's brave? I know the answers are coming here. Just give it a second. Who knows what a good resume is about? Okay, so Tom says skills. Tom, you are incorrect, but you were the first one to answer. So we're going to send you one of our free courses on how to make your LinkedIn course awesome. So Tom Cruise. Okay, so Rory says it's about me. Lauren says it's about showing how you can solve pain points for the job you're applying for. I don't mind that answer, Lauren. It's not bad. Ron says it's a short story about your work. Julia says, oh, wait, what did Julia say? Oh, Julia. I like Julia's answer, right? Right? And Julia, we're going to send you one of those LinkedIn courses too, because I like your answer. Ria says matching your skills. Lillian says showing what's in it for them, getting the interview, right? Lots of good answers. Okay, but here's what I'm seeing a lot of. You're welcome, Julie. Julie, sorry, it was fast. Julie, not Julia, right? Okay, so here's the thing. A lot of you are saying a good resume is about you, right? So John, I love you. And John's saying it shows why you're the right fit for a specific job. And that's incorrect. No, Ed, it's not about marketing yourself. I love you, Ed, and you're wrong. Okay, a good resume is not about you. A good resume is about them. You want to be influential with another human being, the first thing you want to talk about is them. Same thing with a resume. A good resume is about them, right? Yeah, Yassine, it's not about why you're the right person for the job, right? It's about them. It's about the person or organization you're sending it to, right? And when I say resume, I'm talking about your cover letter, your follow-up, your networking, your interview, all of it. So look, folks, if you get nothing out of this, yeah, John, that's right. You get nothing out of this presentation other than this, it'll be worth your time. So a lot of people think a good resume is about you. It's not, it's about them, right? And no wonder we think it's about us, because very often the first resume we ever did was out of school. And in school, it is about us. It's our cubby, our worksheet, our desk, our transcript, our diploma. And yet when we move to the working world, it's not about us. It's about the client, the constituent, the customer, right? And yet somehow we forget to make this transition. So employers are focused on themselves. The opportunity for you in your job search is to do likewise. Make the application about them. All right, we're already on to strategy number 2. Here we go. If I went to a public library and I went to a shelf that had a bunch of storybooks, there would be some words on the front cover of those storybooks. What do we call those words on the front cover of a storybook? Right? What do we call those words, right? I pick up a storybook and I look at the front cover and there's going to be some words. At least in English, what do we call those words? It has a name. What do we call those words, right? Title. Matthew, you got it right. All right, Matthew, you were first one out of the gate. We're going to send you a free course on how to make your LinkedIn profile awesome. John got it right and Mark got it right. Yeah, everybody's getting it right. It's a title. Now, isn't it interesting that's the same term we use to label people in the workplace? Which tells me that just like a title is a label we put on a storybook, a title is also the label we'll put on somebody's career. And this brings us to strategy number 2. Let me ask you this. Here's another question for you. What % of human decision-making do you think is emotional versus logical? Is it 50-50, 80-20, 70-30? So what's the ratio? Emotion to logic. Okay, emotion to logic. What's the ratio? Human decision-making. Like emotion to logic. What's the ratio? Put it in the chat if you would, please. What's the ratio of? Okay, so John says 90-20. Kumar says Toplet, a LinkedIn course, because he actually got it right. Human decision making is 100% emotional. So all these people watch around saying we make data-driven decisions. Yeah, they're full of it. Nobody does. Human decision making is 100% emotional. And the reason we know that is when people get their limbic system damaged, they're fine, except they can't make a single decision. That's the debilitating part, right? So all these cats walking around saying data-driven decisions, yeah, they're just trying to look good, right? So you want to use stories in your stuff because, as Maya Angelou is quoted as saying, right, stories are this is how people are going to remember how we make them feel, not the data, right? Not the data. People remember stories and feelings. Our capacity in this area is like 40 billion or 40 million bits a second. Like our logical brain can do like 20 bits a second. I mean, it's orders of magnitude greater, our capacity on this. So if you're not using story in your stuff, you're leaving a lot on the table. You don't want to do that. So perfect example. Notice I'm about to tell a story, right? One time I had a stack of resumes. We're going through them. And Maggie, this one applicant, said how she'd been in a terrible car accident the summer before and her arm had been severed. Well, that's no good. So we brought in Maggie. I'm waiting for the first day. I'm thinking about accessibility stuff. Poor woman's just got one arm. She walks in the first day, 2 arms. Now, was I mad? No, it was bandaged from where it had been partly separated and reattached, and she was doing some physical therapy. She was going to be fine. I was so happy she had her 2 arms. And I remember that story to this day. And that story was many, many, many years ago, right? Stories are powerful. Use stories. All right, who can tell me who this kid? Who is this kid? What's this guy's name? If you would, put it in the chat. I'll give you a hint. He comes from Idaho. His favorite animal, I think, is a liger. I think it's a liger. I could be wrong about that. I need to do a little research about that. What's this guy's name? Robert Cooper. And yeah, that's right. Right, Lauren and Julie and the two Julies, you guys all got it right. I think Lauren was the first one out of the gate. Lauren Brown, you're going to get our first, you're going to get our course about how to make your LinkedIn profile often. Awesome. But yes, it's Napoleon Dynamite. Now, look, folks, those of you who haven't seen this movie, first of all, like, come on, we're trying to create a society here. Stop your job search and go watch Napoleon Dynamite. I mean, please. And in any case, I don't want to mess it up for you, right? Here's the gist of the scene. Napoleon's a high school kid. He sort of beats to his own drum. He finds himself on stage in front of an entire student body. He's managed to get a cassette tape up to the sound booth, and he's on the hook to do like some sort of performance that he has not planned that is happening immediately. So the music starts playing, and Napoleon just does this crazy dance. I mean, he metaphorically opens the kimono. It's wild. And when he's done, he's all sweaty and sort of panning, and all his students are like this. And then they burst into applause, because it's so authentic, right? Julie Kern-Lima, the founder of It Cosmetics, says, everybody's a good dancer if they commit fully, and she's right. And this brings us to strategy number 3, which is authenticity. People are going to hire you because of who you are, not in spite of it. And if you've been spending a lot of time hiding your age, right, around your graduation dates, right, or being proficient in Microsoft Office, stop. Humans, well, let's say, who do humans hire? Humans hire humans. Now, collectively, I can hear you saying, but Eric, what about the ATS? What about the algorithm? Don't I have to get past the algorithm? How's that working for you, folks? There is no one universal Skynet, like matrix algorithm out there. There's some companies that use software. It's all different. Stop trying to, at the end of the day, we have thumbs, right? Humans hire humans, right? In a world that's increasingly automated, the opportunity is for you to be more human. Yeah, you want to give them evidence that you're a human, be relatable. So, perfect example. One time I was working with Nina. Notice I'm telling another story, by the way. One time I was working with Nina, and we were going through her resume. I'm like, Nina, what do you like to do for fun? And she sort of hemmed and hawed. And finally, I got out of Nina that she had a pen collection. I'm like, well, that's super weird. We got to put that on there. And she was like, oh my God, no, we can't do that. So I argue with Nina for 30 minutes, and I don't know if she's going to do it or not, but I hear from her a month later. She called to let me know. She went in for the interview. They talked about pens for 30 minutes, and she got the offer. This happens all the time with my clients, right? We had somebody last fall. She put on the bottom of her resume, 2 truths and a lie. She got 2 interviews from that and 2 offers. And the reason we know that is they told her that's why they brought her in, right? I have so many stories on this, can't even tell you. So if you don't have that on your stuff, it's a real opportunity. All right, authenticity is your superpower. Abe Lincoln, give me 6 hours to cut down a tree, and I'll spend the first 4 sharpening the axe. This brings us to strategy number 4, which is systems. William and Mark and Lisa and Lauren and Sukhmani. Thanks, Sukhmani, right? There's nothing wrong with you. Like, even if you've got mustard on your shirt, Ria, there's nothing wrong with you. I guarantee there's nothing wrong with you. There's no inherent reason why, if you're having trouble in the job search, that you're not getting a job. It's your systems. The results you're currently getting are perfectly attuned to your current systems. So if you want different results, the opportunity for you, get different systems, right? Right? You don't want to work hard. You want to work smart, right? Yeah. Mustard and ketchup, says John, right? Mustard and ketchup, right? And if what you've been doing hasn't been working, the opportunity for you is to iterate, right? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again. One of the things we do, so look, I'll just point it out with you, right? So what you've been working with is this. Okay. Hey, Rob just booked a call. Good job, Rob. We look forward to talking to you, by the way. Okay. So you've currently got this as your system, right? And I got to be honest with you. You have done amazing things with this, right? It's like the console with the sticky button and the gear shift. I mean, you've done amazing things. And you wonder why you're having trouble steering your job search to success. Well, what you don't realize is this is what's available, right? There's a whole array of knobs and buttons and levers that you didn't even know about. And you could take the time to sort of discover them and figure out the right settings, right? Or you work with, a program like ours, and like we know where all the knobs and the buttons are, and we'll probably have a pretty good idea of the settings that are going to be right for you, right? As opposed to this, right? Like you could spend a long time with this. And the opportunity is to have this, right? You want to have systems. All right, is what you want to have. So how do you put this all to work? Okay, so happy to share. Before I do, like talking about this systems thing, I just want to show you an example of somebody that came to this workshop just like this. She booked a call with us, and she got hired really fast. Right, her name was Angel, and let's play what happened to Angel right now, if you would please, Ann. In the time we've got left, I'm curious, especially if there's somebody we haven't heard from yet. They've had a win, a loss. Angel, I got to ask you, what do we know, if anything? What do we know?
I got the
Yay!
job!
Whoa!
The offer. I'm moving in a week. Yeah, it's crazy. And I know when we first met, you're like, oh, like, let's get something by your birthday. And my birthday is in 4 days, so I was able to do it. Yay!
And I just want to acknowledge you. Like, you dove in, you did it, you did the work.
Thank you.
Way to go.
It would not have been possible without like signing up for this program. Truly, I think it made the difference for me.
So good, Angel.
Yeah.
Really happy for you. Yeah. Super awesome. Congratulations to you. Yeah. Nice. I could listen to that all day long. So look, I'm gonna talk about our program here in a little bit, but we got to get through a bunch of tactics before we do that. And if you're already interested in, like, if this stuff sounds different, you're already interested, we're gonna drop the link to book a call with us. If you're interested in exploring how our program could help you, like, go ahead and book, because this schedule is going to fill up. Like I say, we're still talking to people from last week. All right. So how do you put this all to work? 9 tactics. Here we go. Okay, folks. So look, if you've been watching the replay, or you've been like trimming your bonsai tree during this presentation, come back to me, pay attention, right? And especially if you've been watching me on like 2 times speed. I always like to do this for the people watching the replay. If you've been watching me on 2 times speed, I'm going to talk even faster, so it's 4 times. See, that just freaks them out, right? I love doing that. Okay, so here's the setup. Okay, let's say there's a lake, and in the middle of the lake, someone's drowning. Now they're surrounded by other people in little boats. Okay, so somebody's in the middle of the lake drowning, and they're surrounded by other people in little boats. If this was a job search, who's the person drowning? Put it in the chat if you would, please. Let's see if anybody gets it right. I got LinkedIn profile courses to give away, right? So somebody's in the middle of the lake drowning, and they're surrounded by other people in little boats. If that was a job search, metaphorically, who's the person drowning? Let's see if anybody gets it right. So John says me, John Rowe. John Rowe got it right out of the gate, right? It is the employer, right? It is the employer. John, we're going to send you that LinkedIn course, right? So Kathy, I hear you that it says me. Ria, that's right. So a lot of you, Kumar, a lot of you were saying, it's me, Lisa. Yeah, I'm the one drowning. You can feel that way. But here's what's more accurate. You're not drowning. You're in the boat. It's actually the employer that's drowning. And the reason we know it's the employer drowning is you're welcome, John, right? Is they've told us, they put up a job description to say, help, I'm drowning. We've got too much work here. I'm drowning. And the opportunity for you, like, and so what a lot of job seekers do is they row up and they say, I'm the best for you. Let me tell you how I'm the best for you, right? And like the person drowning, the employer's like, okay, like, good luck. Hey, Jane E, nice job there booking that call. We look forward to talking to you, right? So like, the opportunity there is instead to row up and say, hey, you're drowning. That's terrible. That must be so scary. Let's have a conversation to see how we can get you out of the water. What's important here is not that I'm the one that pulls you out of the water. What's important is you don't drown and die. See how that energy is different? And this brings us to tactic number 1, which is mindset, right? It's mindset. Folks, you can have the best resume and cover letter and networking and interview. You can have all of that super dialed in. And if your mindset is no good, they will smell it. And sometimes I'll hear people and they'll say, but Eric, I can hide it. Nope. You are lying to yourself, right? They smell it, right? Because remember, one of the reasons they're going to hire us is authenticity. And if we're being fake, they're going to know it, right? A lot of people are saying, I hope they pick me. I hope they pick me. I'm the best. And you don't want to be that way. You want to realize that they would be lucky to get you, right? There's plenty of jobs out there. There's only one Jane and Lisa, right? And Michael. There's only one of each of you, right? So you want to approach from a place of service, right? And by the way, and I haven't seen it on this chat, so I'm really glad. Like, you don't want to sell yourself, right, folks? We've gone over this historically. Selling people's weird, buying them's even weirder, right? Don't be like, nobody wants to be sold. What they want is to be served. Okay, so tactic number one, if you can dial that in, game changer for you. Okay, on to tactic number two. Right, some of you may have seen the show Deadliest Catch, right, where they're on this, it's a reality TV show, Alaskan fishermen. They put these big steel cages on the bottom of the ocean floor, right, with a little bit of bait, hoping to catch crabs. Here's how this works. Bob the crab comes along and says, aha, free lunch. So Bob goes in, starts nibbling. All of a sudden, his buddy Charlie sees him. Sally comes in. Cheryl comes in. More and more crabs join. The bait is gone pretty quick. Here's the interesting part. Even though the bait's gone, more and more crabs will join because crabs like to be with other crabs. And if any one of those crabs decides, like, I'm out of here, boys, lunch is over, I'm gone, the other crabs will pull them back in. They'll even pull off one of their limbs. They'll even do crab manslaughter. They'll kill one of their fellow crabs because crabs feel safer with other crabs. And as a result, they all get pulled up for dinner. And this brings us to tactic number two, which is your environment. Some of you are telling yourself, oh, the reason I'm not getting traction is I'm procrastinating, or I'm lazy, or I need to get organized, or I don't. There's a really good chance that the biggest lever, going back to systems in your job search, is just your environment. Environment eats motivation for lunch, right? So, and what I mean by environment is physically where you are, right? The people you're hanging out with, the media you consume, it really matters. Some of you may have heard of the idea of reference groups, right? You're the average weight, income, education of the 5 people you hang out with the most. Right. Hey, Lisa, that's great. We're going to drop the link to book a call in the chat for you, Lisa. Right. So reference groups, it's the same thing here. Okay. Thanks, Ann. Appreciate it. Ann's helping us today, guys. So slow golf clap for Ann. She's awesome. Right. And I think maybe Jessa might be here too. I'm not sure, but we got good helpers today. Okay. So you want to be intentional with your environment. You want to safeguard it. It really, really matters. Okay. And if there's aspects of your environment you can't change, where you live, your loving family, they're just like, want you to settle, and it's not helpful, and they're doing it from a place of love, it's fine. And you got to get that stuff sorted. All right. On to tactic number 3. It's hard to hit a blurry target. Sometimes I'll talk to potential job seekers. I'm like, well, what do you want to do? I want to help people. I'm like, that's beautiful. How much do you want to make? I don't know. Anywhere between $50,000 and $150,000. I'm like, that's beautiful. And all that's super vague. Right? Super vague. Bruce Lee has this quote. He says, be careful what you tell yourself because your body's listening, right? If I said the color red right now, all of you would be more aware of red, right? Because our brains will literally see what we tell them to look for. We're blind to everything else. And this brings us to vision, right? You want to have the compass before you go into the forest, right? Clarity and vision, it's not just nice to have, it's vital. Because if you don't know what you're looking for, you'll literally be blind to it. Right? There's a reason when NASCAR drivers drive 500 miles in a circle, but they don't look at the outer wall, because that's where the car's going to tend to go. And if you're not looking anywhere, your car's not going to go anywhere. Talk about being stuck. I mean, we literally use the words, I'm stuck. Well, do you have a destination in mind? That could be part of the reason. Okay. This is one for the chat, guys. Here we go. If I went to the store and I bought this, okay? I went to the store and I bought this. What would I be buying? If you would, put it in the chat. Let's see if anybody gets this one right. So I go to the store. I'm going up and down the aisles. I see this and I buy this. What am I actually buying here? Let's see if anybody gets it right. Excuse me. All right. So Julie says a drill. Anna says a drill. Oh, John Revelos. Does everybody see what John Revelos says? And I don't know if we've already given you a LinkedIn course, but if not, you are now on the list, right? Yeah. Nobody needs one of these sitting around their garage, right? But what we're actually buying is a whole. And John, we're still going to send you that LinkedIn course, but actually you're wrong. It's actually, Raja. I like you, Raja. Raja gets a course too. Raja Prabhakar, okay? Because what we don't actually need is the whole, right? What we actually need is a place to put the hook. And actually, I don't need a bunch of hooks coming out of my walls. I gash my arm open. What I actually need is a place to hang the photo. And actually, I don't even need a place to hang the photo. What I want is the feeling I get when I look at the picture of my beautiful family that's hanging on the hook that's in the hole that was made by the drill. All right. And this brings us to tactic number 4, which is giving them safety. right? A lot of folks are worried about ATS or hiding your age or, looking good, selling themselves. The opportunity instead is to make that employer feel seen, heard, and understood like nobody else. You do that, game over. Do you see how this is so much more sophisticated than some of the stuff you've been hearing? Like, we're just going to play at a different level. This isn't about like ATS systems or, concealing stuff, right? This is about making it about them and giving them safety, right? You want to get really clear about what they like, want, or need. What keeps them up at night when they stare at the ceiling? If you can, look, most job seekers are just talking about themselves. Like, that's just a hot dumpster fire. And sometimes people will see this workshop, right? And they'll come back to me like, Eric, I did everything you said, it's not working. I'm like, show me your stuff. And they're talking about the drill instead of the thing that keeps them up at night, right? If you can get to that black swan, game changer. All right, on to tactic number 5. Here we go. This is yeah, Michael, I have one of those too, actually. So, hey, Chris, nice job booking a call, Chris. We look forward to talking to you, right? So this here is a copy of my resume. And look, this brings us to the next tactic, which is paper. And, resumes are kind of stupid and, they're sort of the least good method we've come up with to, do this, right? And you want to make sure your resume is dialed in, the cover letters, right? The paper that you send. You don't want it to look like everybody else's because that's just plain old professional camouflage, right? Like, I can see a teal resume about 19 miles away, right? You want your stuff to look different and you want it to be about them. You want it to make them feel seen, heard, and understood. Realize that paper is just a communication piece, and how we send it, where we send it, to whom we send it, it all really matters. Okay. It really, really matters. It's something we work on with people. So for instance, I have hyperlinks in my resume. Do you? Right? Because you could say, go on and on and on talking about how, you're good with technology. And that's right. Exactly. Right. So Mark says they want it electronically now. Exactly. All the more reasons to put hyperlink is in. Right. So it's more like a sort of a web page than actually a document you would print. Exactly. Okay. So you want to make sure your paper is dialed in. And by the way, those of you who have that big honking paragraph at the top of your resume, executive summary. Let me tell you all about myself. Those of you like, yeah, that's right, Tammy. Like, who has a paper resume anymore, right? We're living in a digital world, so you want your stuff to be digital. So why wouldn't it have hyperlinks? Exactly. Right. So those of you who have that big honking paragraph talking about yourself, yeah, it's not serving you, right? Okay. So if a job application is submitted and there's no follow-up, does it even make a sound? I would humbly suggest that it doesn't. And this brings us to tactic number 6, which is follow-up, right? A lot of you are applying for stuff and you're like, well, hope to hear back. And the opportunity is to follow up. And when you follow up, hey, John, nice to see you, buddy. We're going to see you soon, right? When you follow up, you're not going to say, hey, just wanted to check in. I'm really passionate about, I'm really interested. I'd be really good for you. You don't want to say any of that because that's all about you, right? What you want to say instead is something else. You want to make it about them, okay? And some of you are saying, but Eric, when I apply for stuff, there's no contact. Who do I follow up with? Come on, job seeker. You can be more creative than that. I bet if you had a member of your family was being held hostage and the only way they could get free by the end of the day was if you found somebody to message at that company and make it about them, I bet you could figure out how to do it. Especially if you signed up to work with us because we'd help you do it, right? So remember, and some of you are like, ooh, that's really pushy. Let's go back to the water, right? Let's say somebody was floating face down and you said, excuse me, sir, are you okay? And the person didn't move. You wouldn't be like, I don't want to bother them. No, you'd jump in the water. You'd flip them over, right? You'd do mouth to mouth. And if they came to and they're like, dude, I was just snorkeling, you'd be like, my bad. You'd be willing to offend in the name of service. This is the kind of energy you want to bring to your job search. All right, here we go. All right, on to the next tactic, right? We're moving right along here, guys. So this is a really important one. A lot of times when I work with job seekers, this is one of the most important. And this has to do with networking. So if I asked you, I said, okay, folks, how many of you, if I went to your Google contacts, and let's say you had 1,000 of them, and I said, okay, how many of these people, right? All these John R. or Tammy or Sukmani, how many of these people know that you're on the job hunt? You might be like, Well, a good number. And I'd say, well, how many? Well, maybe 20%. I'd say, that's fantastic. How would they know? And you might be like, well, I put it on LinkedIn when I started my job search 3 months ago. And so they know. And so I said, so they would have had to gone to LinkedIn that day, gone to your profile, happened to seen it, and happened to remember it. And now you'd sort of start to look nervous. You'd be like, yes, right? And here's the opportunity. Anybody ever seen the Academy Awards, right? When the movie stars get up there to accept the big prize, right? And they get up there and they're about to accept it and they're like, I got nobody to thank. And sort of awkward. And the movies, it doesn't happen like that, right? They're like, I got to thank this person and this person, this person. They're playing the music, trying to get them off stage. When people do great things, they ask for help. Asking for help makes you look strong, not weak. When we ask people for help, it honors them because we wouldn't ask for it unless we thought their help was worth something. So again, if you can get this dialed in, folks, it really matters because vulnerability equals trust. And by the way, this goes back to what we were saying about a system. You don't want to do one-off networking, right? Because that's like trying to get the right bait on the right fish, the right place, the right depth at the right time. I mean, man, you might get lucky, lightning might strike, but it's just a lot easier to filter the ocean. And then you don't have to worry about where the fish are because wherever you predict they are, it's almost guaranteed they're not going to be there where you think they're going to be. So you filter the ocean. It's one of the systems that we work with clients on. Okay, let's go to interviews, folks. Here's the best interview advice in the world. And by the way, when it comes to interviews, there's only one reason they're going to hire you, right? There's one reason. And it's not your skills. It's not your experience. It's not even if they like you. It's if they trust you. So basically every interview question, if this was like a universal translator, right? And every interview question would like, tell me about yourself. And it would go, blah, 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 and it would spit out, can we trust you? Tell me about a time you made a mistake. Can we trust you? Like every question is, can we trust you? That's basically all they're asking. They don't need more information. They've seen your stuff. What they're really asking is, can we trust you, right? And so the mistake a lot of people make is they answer the question. They answer the question of like, tell me about yourself, or tell me about a time you made a mistake, or tell me about your greatest professional achievement, or whatever, instead of answering the real question, which is, can I trust you? So you want to deliver answers and tell stories that answer that question, because that's really the question they're asking. And that's available to you. So those of you, especially those of you who have gone through a couple rounds of interviews and you've gotten like almost there a couple times, my heart goes to you. There's nothing harder in a job search. This could be the thing that's holding you back. So when you go into your next interview, you want to answer the interview questions to reassure them that they can trust you, because people are going to believe what you show them more than what you tell them, right? Just saying you can trust me, that's no good, right? There's other ways to do it, right? Don't answer the questions, right? They don't care about the questions. What they're really asking is, can we trust this person? All right, guys, I think this is our final tactic, and this is when it comes to offers. So what I see a lot of times, I'll talk to prospective job seekers and I'll be like, well, how many applications are you sending out? Well, Eric, I'm really picky. I'm picky because if I get a job and, an offer, then I got to move the family to Connecticut and and then they're off to the races. It's sort of this negative default future, right? Realize that, my friends, you don't have to worry about whether you want a job or you're qualified for a job unless and until they make you an offer. So first of all, they're going to have an opinion about whether you're qualified. You don't have to worry about that. And in terms of whether you want it, well, you're not going to really know until you know what's on the table. And it, in this case, is an offer. So if they come to you and they say, well, if we gave you this, would you accept it? You'd be like, wow, that's possible. I'd have to see the offer, right? And it's just, we want to live in a world of possibility. Even if they came to you like Tammy and they said, we want to pay you $1, the temptation would be like, no way, dude. The opportunity is to say like, that's really interesting. I'm curious about that. I'm curious about what's possible. I'd have to see the offer. Okay. So you want to apply liberally from a place of service. All right, guys. So write this down. You guys have been so great, right? 4 strategies, 9 tactics. I've loved all these questions. I'm sure many of you have many more questions. So look, folks, a lot of you are hearing this stuff and you're like, oh, damn, this is different. This is different. Hey, James, great job booking a call. We look forward to talking to you. Right. So this is different. Okay. This stuff is different. And some of you are like, you know what? I'm going to go off and try this on my own. Right. And that's okay. And it could wind up being this. Right. Because if you would have done some of this stuff on your own, you would have done it already. Right. The stuff I'm offering here, I just want to be really honest with you. This is not Googleable, because I didn't take this stuff from anybody, right? This comes from my long career of only seeing about 10,000 job seekers figure this stuff out, and being on both sides of the equation and realizing that a lot of the stuff that's out there does not work. Hiding your age does not work. Trying to trick ATS does not work. Trying to look good does not work. It just doesn't, right? So you could spend, 30 years in a career learning all the stuff that I did, or you could do like what a lot of other people done. And we've got a program. It's awesome. We go through all of these things that we just talked about. This is essentially the course, right? So instead of spending so much time to figure it out on your own, like you just save a lot of time and money with this course, right? But and look, so these are just some examples of the people I've worked with. So there's Jessie, right? She's somebody we helped earlier this year. Did nonprofit work in education. She was searching forever. She actually got a couple of offers, and she didn't say yes to the first one. It took her a couple times, and she finally got a job she's in now that I know she really likes. Here's a bunch more of my clients. I love these people. So there's Wayne, right? Wayne was in a job. He got a ton of offers before he said yes, and he found a really great job. There's Rob, right, who was somebody who was just at the beginning of his job search, and he's like, I don't want this to be a 6-month-long job search. And because he got in front of it, his job search, it took him about 2.5 months, right? He wasn't one of these people that was like, I'm going to wait to see if I have trouble. He got in front of it, and it really paid him in dividends. So there's John. John was a tech guy, a tech CEO. He's somebody we got straightened out in a really great position in a short time. There's Amy. Amy did like communication stuff. And she had she got closer really a couple times, and she's finally, I just heard from her the other day. She's really situated right now. She's up in New York City. There's Philip, again, a younger guy, tech guy. We got him straightened out. There's Jessica, who like was sort of right on schedule. Like our program, the idea is we get you hired in 3 months or less. And she, like, all these folks are right on time, right? So there's Angel. You met Angel, right? So just lots and lots of examples, right? Because the thing about this is, like, a lot of times people work with us when they value time more than money, right? Because it's not just like your job search is costing you, like it's costing you, and not just in terms of your mental health. It's costing you in terms of money. Like, think about it. If you wanted to make this much money, here's what it's costing you per month. Here's what it's costing you per week. So if you wanted to make 120 grand, it's costing you $2,500 a week, right? So by doing a program like the one we talk about, like the one I'm talking about, if we get you hired in a couple of weeks faster, like you're way ahead. And look, folks, I don't know if we can get you hired exactly how much faster, but I know it's going to be faster. And I know you're going to find a better job just because there's too many data points to show otherwise. So just to give you a little bit about our program, and this is the print on this is really small, so I'm going to do this from memory, but it has a couple of components. It's got a group coaching aspect. It's got an online course. It's got an online community. We have this really cool tracker system to hold you accountable. And the main thing you get that sets this program apart from others is you get a ton of one-on-one coaching, right? Ton of one-on-one coaching, right? A little bit with me, more with others. I lead all the groups. So you get access to me and like everybody else, and we don't mess around. And a lot of times what happens when we work with people, they get hired faster than 3 months. And then they're like, what do I do with all these one-on-one sessions? And we're like, well, let's make sure what happened in your last job doesn't happen in this one. Okay. So it's a really robust program. And a lot of people have had success with it. And some of you may be thinking, well, this isn't for me. I can't afford this. That's usually the one I hear. Well, look, I mean, going back to this, can you not afford it? And some of you may be like, well, I don't have thousands of dollars to spend right now. Yeah, we've got payment plans, because sometimes what I hear is people saying, well, can I pay you after I get the job? Kind of, right? Because if you can throw down a couple $100s a month, right? We got payment plans. Then when you get the job, you can pay us after, right? So lots of payment plans, a few $100s a month, right? Pay the rest when you get a job. And look, right now, basically the clients that are getting jobs right now started with us like end of January, February, right? So if this is something you wanted to start now, like the idea would be you'd be having interviews in June, offers in July. 4th of July, I don't know. That could be a little close. Maybe, right? Maybe, but that would be the plan for you, right? And we place 100% of the people that stick with our program because the guarantee we offer is we don't leave you until you get the job, right? As long as you're doing the work, right? And we offer all kinds of accountability around that. So look, it's a really good program. I'm really proud of it. We help a lot of people. So, just tons of examples, way more than I showed. So look, if the only thing we ask, and I'd ask you to drop the link in the chat, right? If this is something you're interested in exploring, right? The only thing I ask is if you're going to book a call with me or my team, one, you're going to show up for the call because you probably know firsthand how much it sucks to get ghosted. So I don't want to work with people that are going to ghost us. Two, and you're going to make it a priority, right? So you're going to clear your schedule and you're going to show up for the call, because if you're going to get different results than the results you've been getting, it's going to start with this coaching, right? You're not going to be phoning it in anymore, right? That's the reason to have a coach, is we're going to do things differently. Two, you're going to be at least open to the idea of making an investment. And look, folks, if you're on this presentation right now, there's a really good chance that you can make this investment, because again, look what it's costing you not to, right? Look what it's costing you not to. So you're open to making the investment. And three, you're looking for a job now, right? If you're somebody who's like, oh, I want to get started 6 months from now, yeah, we don't want that. You come back to us in 6 months, right? So let's talk. I know several of you have already booked time, and we really look forward to working with you and talking to you about what's possible for you, because there is so much possibility for you. All right, guys. So let's go to questions. And I'm sure whoops, that is the wrong button. I want you guys to see my giant head in its full splendor. Let's take some questions. Who's got a question or something that I talked about, or a question about the program? Lay it on us, if you would, please. Who's got questions? I know you guys are all stunned. You're like, he went through that really fast. What the hell's up with that guy? Right? What the hell's up with that guy? So any questions, or I've stunned you all? I know there's a little bit of a delay. One question I get sometimes is, what about age, right? Do I hide my age on my resume? You're so welcome, Eric, right? So do I hide my age on my resume? Well, if the reason they're going to hire us is because they trust us, right? The last thing we would want to do is basically come out of the gate by saying, I don't trust you, so I'm going to hide my age. And look, guys, I'm not going to pretend there aren't a lot of isms out there. Racism, sexism, all sorts of isms, right? Of course there are, right? It looks like, also all sorts of isms, right? So and the opportunity is, if the reason they're going to hire us is they trust us, is to trust them, because there's no greater way to get somebody to trust us than to do that. And probably the worst thing we can do is hide our age. All right, we got a bunch of questions here. There's sort of a delay here. All right, thanks, Anne, for your help. Can you give an example of how to show the interviewer that you trust them? Yeah, right. So one way is vulnerability. So we had a client. This was a guy in Chicago. It was earlier this year, and he actually attended this workshop, and he knew that he had an interview the forthcoming week, and he signed up with us because he didn't want to waste the interview. So he signed up, and I actually worked with him over the weekend to get his interview on. And we noticed that one of the values of the company he was interviewing with was no bullshit. So guess what he started the interview with? And he was worried, and he had gone to a bunch of interviews, and that's where he got stuck. So he went in, and as he started the interview, he said, hey, can I ask you a question? And they're like, yeah. It's like, you know how you guys say no bullshit? Like, yeah, can we do that here? And it totally changed. Here's one of my dreams, Robert. And Robert, let's send Robert a course on how to make his LinkedIn profile awesome, because I like this question. Okay. So here's my dream. You go into an interview, and there's a glass of water on the table, and I'm wearing a nice suit, right? And they say, hey, Eric, are you ready? Are you ready for the interview? And I go, I'm not ready. And they're like, well, what do you need? I'm like, one moment. I take the water and I pour it over my head. And they're like, what the hell did you just do? I'm like, let me explain. I poured the water over my head as a reminder that I'm not here to please you. I'm not here to look good. Now we can start the interview. Now, one of two things would happen, Robert. They either kick your rear end out for getting their conference room floor wet, or they would hire you on the spot because it's so vulnerable. Vulnerability, as Brene Brown taught us, builds trust. So those are a few examples. There's a lot more. All right, let's see who else has a question here. Thanks for that. I enjoyed that question. So Sukmani, how do you network fully if you've got a job and you don't want to advertise? This is a great question, Sukmani. Great question. If we don't already have Sukmani on the list for a LinkedIn course, let's send that to Sukmani. So it can be a little dicey, right? So, and this happens in real life. Sometimes there's politics. And so then it's just really a question of, sending it to people that you trust. And in a way, it sort of gets to what we were just saying about, by you sending it to people, it's a demonstration of trust. And when you trust them, they're going to trust you. They're probably going to be more likely to refer you to a job. But it requires being a little bit more strategic around that. And it might not be something you post online. It could be something that you publicize in other ways, Sukmani. It's one of the things. It's a thing we do. It's called the network bomb. It's awesome. It's something we do in our program. All right, next question. What else do we have for Kathy? Do you advocate customizing your resume for every job you apply for, or having one resume that works for most? Great question, Kathy. If we're not already sending Kathy O'Kane a LinkedIn course, let's do that. Thanks, Ann. Okay, so on this, it's like if a resume is about them and we were to send the same resume to more than one employer, at least one of them would be misaddressed. So we wouldn't want to do that for sure, right? We wouldn't want to do that for sure. What we want to do is to customize it. Now, then the question is, well, gosh, that's a drag. How long is that going to take? Well, it's only a drag if you don't have a system for doing it. And that's one of the things we work on is creating a system. We have one that works really well so that, you have one sort of a mothership resume and all the others are sort of born from that. And guess what informs the creation of that, child resume? Them. Depends on who you're sending to. Because what we want to do, Kathy, is we want them to read your resume and be like, damn, this Kathy, it's like this was written for us. Because it was, right? We want them to read that and be like, wow, this is somebody that really sees, hears, and understands us. So that's the play there, Kathy. Great question. All right, who's next? What other questions do we have? So Mark the Taplet. So many, but do you actually start a resume by talking about the company? Yeah, Mark. Exactly. Now, there can be a little bit of a nuance under that. You might not want to say XYZ company is amazing. However, like if they care about A, B, and C, you start off by talking about A, B, and C, right? And the thing you want to avoid, right? And this is what I see a lot of job seekers doing, right? Is they say, I'm the right one for you. We never want to say that. Because as soon as we say that, now they don't know whether we're just trying to sell them something or it was their idea. And see, people support what they create. So we want to leave the space for them to connect the dots. Once we do that, so much more becomes possible in our job search, truly. All right, guys, we got time for just a few more questions. One slide mentioned the Franklin principle, but I didn't because I want to make sure. But Tom, we're going to send you that LinkedIn course. So the Franklin principle, Benjamin Franklin said, a lot of people think if you want to make a friend, do them a favor. If you want to make a friend, ask them for help. Because let's say somebody does us a favor, right? Like that, or we do somebody a favor, that person's probably grateful, but they're going to get the hell away from us because now they owe us. Whereas if we ask somebody for help and give them the opportunity to invest in us, now our success becomes their success. And they're going to, so those of you who are attended this workshop, do you think I'm going to be more or less interested in your professional success than I was an hour ago? Now, because I've got an investment in you. I've been talking to you for like an hour. So this is the Franklin principle. Great question, Tom. All right, let's do two more. Let's see what else we have here. Okay, Michael, there are a lot of resume digester programs out there designed to automatically process your resume. So this is what we're talking about by ATS. Should you create one resume for the pre-processing? So, Michael, for me, this is sort of like trying to game the system. This is like trying to please a computer. In my experience, it doesn't work very well. So go ahead, apply, and you're going to find a real live human. You're going to make them feel seen, heard, and understood. And by the way, those of you who stayed late here, you're going to get a little bonus tip, right? When you get like those automated responses, right? Those you clearly automate, just ignore those. Because if you find the real live person, right, and you make them feel seen, heard, and understood, and they're like, wow, that Michael Wind, like that's somebody I'd be interested in talking to. They're going to knock on the back door of HR and be like, HR, this one, Michael Wind, I want to talk to Michael Wind. And HR will be like, but we already sent Michael the thing. And they'll be like, I don't care. I've been waiting 17 months for some resumes. I want this one. And all of a sudden they'll flip a switch in HR and magically, Michael, you'll get the other message. It'll be the most magical thing that's ever happened. This happens to my clients all the time because we know how to reach out to people. All right, one more question. Let's see who we're going to give one more question to. And hey, Lisa, what's an example of a story if they ask you to tell you about themselves? Okay, so Lisa, I'm going to do it with you. So I don't know Lisa, right? At least I don't think I know Lisa. So let's say we're in an interview. Lisa said, tell me about yourself. I might say something like this. I might be like, Lisa, the fact that you stayed to the end of this workshop says so much about the dedication you're putting to your job search, how much you care about making the world better through the work you do. Not everybody is going to stay to the end of a workshop like this, and you do. And it just really says so much about you. So I just answered the question. Tell me about yourself. Yeah, I'll tell you about myself. Here's what I noticed about Lisa. And by the way, Lisa, we're sending you a LinkedIn course. So look, folks, I really acknowledge you for being here, for sticking it out. And like, if you want to keep doing what you've been doing and getting the results you've been getting, like I wish you well. Or like, sign up for this course or sign up for this program that we've got. And like, let's get this job thing handled for you. Like, the people that we've gotten this sorted for are not any different than you. Yeah, there's a lot available for you. So I really hope to have the chance to meet you. Even if you're just interested in exploring it and you're willing to like keep the call, you're open to invest in yourself, and you're ready to start now, like book a call. Like, what do you have to lose? So I really acknowledge you, my friends. So glad to see you here. Hope to have the chance to meet you. And I just wish you all the very best. Please know there are bright things on the horizon for you. I promise. Like, you can get this job thing handled. And if you want it handled faster and cheaper, like, come talk to us. And I wish you the very best. Take care, my friends.